In this video, I will show you the best open secret of Excel 365. This method is called dynamic arrays. Since last few years, I would have shown thousands of people how to use dynamic arrays and not one of them knew how to use them. And once they learned, not one person went back to writing the formulas the traditional way. In this video, you can learn how to use dynamic arrays and see for yourself how simple yet game-changing they are. Let's begin. We will look at two examples. Here is the first one. Here are the number of laptops a company sold during a year in different countries. They expected 10% growth in the numbers next year. Let's look at the projections for the next financial year. Now, traditionally, the way we would write the formula is we will take B4 and multiply it by 1 plus B1, where we have the 10% figure, and we get the result we want. Now, if I'm not careful, I'll copy the formula and we'll get these crazy values. As I go through the formulas row by row, I can see that while in the first row it considers the 10%, from the next row onwards, it does not consider the 10% growth. As you can see, the cell B1 first becomes B2, then B3, and so on. For the formula to continuously refer to B1, we have to fix the reference. We go and update the formula in the first cell, we change B1 to $B, $1. Now, as you copy the formula, the result is fine. While this was a simple fix, let me show you a small challenge with this method. Let's say I accidentally or with devious intent change one of the formulas. I will change the B7 to B6. Now Excel shows a green flag indicating a potential error. I can make this error in the next row and Excel does not flag the content anymore. As you can now see, we have errors in the sheet, but we have no warnings now. And imagine the situation where you receive this sheet from someone else. You will check the first one or two values and think that the rest of the sheet is fine, while in reality they may not be the case. So how do we prevent such errors from creeping in, and how do we write formulas easily without worrying about referencing? The solution is dynamic arrays. So the way to write the formula is equal to, and instead of just selecting the first cell, select all the cells from B4 to B13 and then multiply by 1 plus B1 without worrying about the referencing. And just like that, we get answers for all the countries. Now, there are a few things for us to note. The first, as I said, we do not have to worry about referencing. Second, when we click on the first cell and look at the formula bar, we see the formula in the usual color. And I can edit the formula here. But as I go to cells below, I see the color changes to a lighter shade of gray, indicating that you can't edit the formula here. This means that you will not get any errors. This is how dynamic arrays work. Now I want to show you one more thing. I will remove the borders for these cells. As I click on the formula, you will see there is a solid blue line. This line tells us that the result displayed is part of a dynamic array output. Anything that appears within this blue border originates from the first cell. So this is the simplest example of dynamic arrays. Now I will show you another example which will be a blessing if you find referencing confusing. This is an extension of the previous example. During the forecasting discussion, the company realized that they want to plan for different growth scenarios. So they created this table to see what does 5%, 10%, 15% and 20% growth looks like. Now our task is to fill this table with a single formula. I will first show you how do we achieve this using referencing and then with dynamic arrays. Whenever you have to write a formula like this which spans across multiple rows and columns, then it is a good idea to write it for the first cell and then extend it further. Writing the formula for 5% increase in sale for Australia is very simple. We will write B2, which is the sales for Australia, multiplied by 1 plus 5%. Now we'll have to apply referencing to both B2 and C1 so that we can copy the formula across. I have seen a lot of people find this difficult. They always get confused where to apply the dollar sign. I will show you a method where you can logically arrive at the correct formula with a little bit of observation. Remember, we put a dollar sign if we don't want either the row or the column or both references to not move. Now if I were to copy this formula as it is to the right, this is what will happen. I will get some values which don't look too bad to be honest. But let's take a closer look. As I edit the first cell, I see that it is referring to the correct units sold in cell B2 and the correct growth percentage in the cell C1. As I move one cell right, I notice that instead of continuing to refer to cell B2, it is referring to cell C2. But as far as the growth percentage goes, the formula correctly refers to cell D1. One more cell right and I see instead of referring to B2, it is incorrectly referring to D2. However, it refers to the correct growth percentage E1. So B2 is becoming C2 and then D2, whereas it should continue to refer to column B. So we will put a dollar in front of B. We will delete all other instances of the formula. Now as I copy the formula down, there is no doubt that something is wrong. In the first cell, the formula correctly refers to the units sold for Australia and the growth percentage in cell C1. As I move one cell down, it refers to the correct units sold for Brazil, but instead of referring to the growth rate in cell C1, it starts referring to the value in cell C2. One more cell down and the story repeats. Incorrect growth percentage in cell C3. C1 incorrectly becomes C2 and then C3 and so on. We don't want the row reference 1 to change. Let's delete all the versions of the incorrect formula and put a dollar before 1. Now as I copy the formula across, it shows me the correct values. I'll click on this cell in the center. It should refer to India's units sold and 10% growth. And that is what we see. This indicates that the formula is correct. Now this method takes a lot of practice to get right. I personally used to take time to get it right initially, but then with practice, I became more confident. But now I'm going to show you how to do these calculations using dynamic arrays, and I'm sure it'll blow your mind. Let's write the formula. Instead of just selecting the units sold for Australia, I will select all the values multiplied by 1 plus. Instead of just selecting 5%, I will select all the values. And that's it, you have the result. No need for referencing, no fear of incorrect formulas in between, just a simple alternative. So you see the power of dynamic arrays? Tell me what you think of it in the comments below. Also, if you'd really like to change the way you work in Excel and get much more out of it, then do check out our course Excel Masterclass, where you have close to 100 lessons like this one, and I keep updating it from time to time. Within just a few hours, you'll start working on Excel like a pro. The link is in the description below. Click on it to learn more. See you.